Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Chris Newton, and tonight we're going to be playing a game of Fellowship. Specifically, we're going to be playing in the Gauntlet Comics world, which is a shared creation of the Gauntlet community. That's the Gauntlet community online. It is gauntlet-rpg.com. And the Gauntlet Comics is a creation of that community that involves a weird comic book world that bunches of people have participated in, played games in, and done all sorts of things like create a wiki about. And we'll be playing in a sort of sub-world of that particular shared universe, a subterranean, like weird, crazy science fantasy world called Kam-Dir. And this Fellowship game will revolve around our erstwhile Fellowship trying to defeat the machinations of the evil Overlord, or in this case, maybe Underlord, since the name of the game is The Eyes of the Underlord. That will figure in later on when we get into discussing what the Underlord is up to, or what the Overlord is up to in disguise as Underlord, and what that all means. And we'll be discussing where we're going to go. We'll be discussing what everybody's playbooks are, what everybody's individual playbooks are about. Like if someone chooses to be the dwarf, they're going to talk about all the cool stuff that dwarves do in this world. And the fun thing about Fellowship is the person who's playing that playbook gets to completely define what those folks are. So that's going to be interesting for everybody involved, because we'll all get to discover something new and cool. Since this is a Gauntlet community game, we will be abiding by Gauntlet's Gauntlet community standards, which also involves us observing the Gauntlet code of conduct, and the Gauntlet, making use of the Gauntlet tools of the table for the purposes of safety and fun. Those involve, number one, the use of the X card. The X card, basically, if anybody encounters something in the game that they have to, that brings up some trauma for them, makes them uncomfortable, or makes the game less fun in any way, they can X card that. Just, show an X on the on your video screen like this, or type an X into the chat, type an X into the Roll20 chat, or just say, hey, I'd like to X card that. Any of those is just fine. You don't have to have any explanation. The only thing I may ask is exactly which part we're X carding, so I know which part to excise, and so that we can get back to the stuff that makes the game fun for everybody. We'll also be using lines and veils to kind of draw a couple of X's over things to start with. I've added those to the Roll20 site we're using for the purposes of tracking characters, roles, and such. And I've put in a few of my own lines and veils. And those are typically things that I don't enjoy seeing in the game, so I've already added those in. The ones I usually start with are with my lines, the things I do not want to see at all, and the things that will not be present in the game are sexual violence and child abuse. And with veils, which are things that can happen off screen, but we're not going to actually bring onto the screen and describe in any way, I've put torture. The other players also have access to that document and can add, edit, and put new things on any of those lists. And I will endeavor as the facilitator to abide by those lists and make sure that I don't bring anything that makes anybody uncomfortable and makes anybody have less fun at the table, because this is a game, and this is a game that where we want everybody to have fun and come back and play again. And finally, the Gauntlet is all about an open table policy, meaning that if anybody needs to come or go during the game, family emergency, anything else that comes up, feel free to step away from the table. Feel free to leave the game if you need to. The only thing I'd ask is that you make sure that if you have to leave the game entirely, just shoot me a quick message so that I know that you're not going to be able to come back, so we don't hold things up for anybody else. And that is our basic safety setup. We've got our lines and veils, we've got our X card, and we've got our open table for folks to just get up and take a break or step away from the table entirely if they need to for whatever's going on. Now, that all being said, we have a group here, some of whom have played Fellowship before, some of whom haven't, and one of whom looks like they've already pretty much taken up their, gotten their playbook filled out on Roll20. and the other folks are working on getting that part set up. And so I'm going to break off from my tirade about all this other stuff and get started with working through the first session of Fellowship. The Fellowship game gives us an outline for things to do in the first session, and the first thing is picking playbooks. So I'm going to turn to our players here and individually just ask them to introduce themselves, give their pronouns, give the playbook that they're looking at playing, and then we'll sort of get into the nitty-gritty of session 1 of Fellowship, which is all about lore building, character building, and world building, and forging bonds with each other. As the facilitator of the game, I'm the one who will be playing the Overlord. So I'll be the bad guy that everybody wants to stop, and everyone else will be playing members of the Fellowship, which are supposed to stop me. So I'm going to start with the person who showed up first in my chat window, because the Zoom it seems to realign things based on what time everybody joins in. I'll start with giving my pronouns and setting myself up. I'm Chris Newton. I am the facilitator for this game of Fellowship. I use he, him pronouns, and obviously I'll be playing the Overlord when we get around to that part. Next on my screen would be Kyle. If you'd introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Kyle. He, him. I'll be playing. Sorry, I'm blanking on my character's last name. That's the downside for having a bunch of wiki pages open. The Regina Firewheel. The dwarf playbook. I don't think I'll be playing her as an actual dwarf, because I think we'll be at least some folks will be adapting the playbooks to like people native to the region we're in. So yeah.
That's cool, thank you. And like I said, your individual playbook is yours to fully describe, so you get to tell us exactly what the dwarves are like when we get around to that part. They could, in this world, they could be giants like that, like the dwarf that they showed on that Thor on the Avengers Endgame movies. He's actually like 20 feet tall, but they still call him a dwarf. Let's see. Next around my screen would be Bethany.
Hi, I'm Bethany. They, them pronouns. I will be playing the Squire, who is not actually a race or people or faction or whatever they're called in this, and who's basically not supposed to be here but is here anyway.
Cool, thank you. Next round will be Pearl.
I got a little confused by that last part. Is it someone who isn't here but is? Do we have a ghost? What?
No, although now that you mention it, there's no reason they couldn't be a ghost. No, like they're not supposed to be here. They're not a hero. They're not chosen as their people's champion or anything like that. They're just like, they've shoved their way into the group somehow, or like attached themselves to it, or you all have dragged them along or something.
I see. Excellent. Thank you. That makes more sense now. I thought there was like a player who was invisible or something. Anyway, I'm Pearl. I forget what all I'm supposed to say. I have not played a game in a long time. I'm confused.
We just this part we're just doing like introducing yourself and your pronouns, and then we'll get into and just what basic playbook you've chosen.
Oh, right. Yes, that's what everyone else did, so that's probably what I should do. I'm Pearl. I use she and her pronouns. I have not named my character yet, but I have picked a playbook, which is the Halfling. I have not played in a while, but if you've ever played with me, you will know that's a very Pearl sort of playbook. Small, mischievous, likes to sing and tell stories, and generally do things that try to be helpful, but maybe aren't. So that seems good. I will have a name very shortly, I'm sure.
Okay, thanks everybody. All right, the next thing we kind of get into is everyone choosing their playbooks, and everyone's done that. Then we look at just coming up with names, looking agenda, assigning your stats, choosing your particular moves for your playbook, and choosing your gear. We'll kind of give a few minutes to do that. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them. I've pulled up all of the playbooks that y'all have mentioned, so that I can go through them with you if you need me to.
I'm just bad at making decisions, but I don't think I have any specific questions yet.
Yeah, the thing about these playbooks is more so than any Apocalypse World game I've seen, they have just a whole lot of things to check. there's equipment to choose, moves to choose, cultural backgrounds to choose, all sorts of stuff. So it can get to be a lot, and you can if you wanted to print the playbooks out, you're welcome to do that. If you want to create the sheet in the Roll20 journal, you're welcome to do that. It's a journal that lets you kind of copy and paste pretty much everything into it that you want. And while y'all are doing that, I can give you the sort of basics I've come up with so far for the Overlord, just kind of as an introduction. One of the things that I have to do as the Overlord guy is come up with like a few things about what the Overlord is and what his ultimate purpose is. And I have a couple of options from the playbook for the Overlord. And this particular Overlord has chosen ultimate power. And he has 3 stats, which are absolute final truths about who the Overlord is and how powerful he is. And those stats are immutable and completely impervious until you guys break them by doing cool, heroic stuff in the world. And almost all of that is based on narratives as to what you guys do to break down those qualities. This Overlord has a terrible gaze, meaning that anybody in his presence always rolls with despair. Anybody, if you oppose him and he's there, you roll with despair, which means that you roll 3 dice and you take the worst 2 to get your move results. He is a threat to the world, which means that you always have to pay a price to do any direct action against him. And paying a price in Fellowship means marking off equipment, damaging a stat, or something else that has roughly the same narrative heft. So that makes him particularly dangerous to go up against. He is a juggernaut. He is just immensely physically powerful. He can break and rend pretty much anything he can get his hands on. And he is an impervious amalgamation. He looks like if you see him, he looks like he's cobbled together from like a multitude of different things. Some stone, maybe some mechanical, maybe some other stuff. And with all that being said, like you can basically beat him to pieces, but he just reforms himself like a really, really terrifying set of Legos. Like he just conglomerates right back together after you beat him apart. Those are the 3 stats that the Overlord will start with. Those stats are true and unalterable until you guys narratively break them, which is one of the cool things that the Fellowship gets to do to the Overlord. The Overlord's motivation is he wants to accumulate power, more and more power, and he will seek sources of power in the world to do that. And most of his plans are going to revolve around getting more power, undermining others' attempts to gain power, and that sort of thing. Everything is focused on him basically gaining more power and taking it away from others. Okay. All right. And the other aspect you guys would know about the Overlord is that he gets to start the game with 1 general. His current general is a monster called Pack Lord Aquila. and he is a cybernetically enhanced anthropomorphic wolf. And he always has a pack of this game's equivalent of stormtroopers, you'd probably call them. Basically, they're there to provide distractions, to jump in front of things that might otherwise hit the pack lord, etc. And he is always the hunter, meaning that anytime you want to get away, hide from him, or otherwise escape, somebody is going to have to pay a price to do that. He is also a threat to the world, meaning that any direct action against him to take him down or otherwise impede him will require that person to pay a price to do that as well. So that's where the Overlord is starting from. Let's see, has everyone else gotten their playbooks sorted out to the point where they're ready to talk about them, or do we need a little bit more time for that?
I think if I go last, I can probably do it. I'm having to type things in manually because when I copy, it's putting a bunch of extra characters in.
Oh, God,
So
yes.
taking me a little longer than it would ordinarily. I apologize.
That's okay. Copy and pasting out of PDFs is a nightmare all the way around. It hits me on the character keepers online too. Let's see. Well, I think Kyle, do you want to start off with talking about the dwarf, and I'll kind of field you a couple of things that we'll want to sort of go through with the dwarf. If that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. So we've got a few basic things you start with. So let's start with our dwarf. Tell us about your particular member of the fellowship. Tell us why you are your people's champion, like why you were chosen to join the fellowship above and beyond any other dwarf. And tell us 3 facts about dwarves, the people that you come from.
Alrighty. I think I am just going to call them dwarves for the sake of simplicity for this playthrough. And let's see. Sorry, I forgot which question you asked first.
Okay. First is the name of your character.
Yes. I'm playing Regina Firewheel.
Okay. And why is Regina chosen to be the champion of her people? What led up to that? What about her led her people to say she is the one who must join the fellowship and stand against this threat?
I think it's that she's a sort of a crafter, a creator. She's very inventive, good with tech and stuff, which is very core to the dwarves. Yeah, I selected the Iron Blast subtype of dwarf, so they're madcap inventors and chemists, known throughout the world for their wondrous and dangerous creations.
That is awesome. So they chose her for her scientific acumen and her inventiveness and making things that explode.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, the next part of that intro set of questions is, what are 3 facts that pretty much everybody that knows about your people knows about them? Like if they know if they've ever heard of your people, they know these 3 things. What are they?
I think one is that we're relatively new to the region, the sort of hollow earth world that we're in right now. I'm thinking of the dwarfs as kind of like dimensional wanderers, like a bunch just popped in here maybe just a few generations ago or something, and then just started setting up shop. So that's yeah.
So if they're dimensional wanderers, like, do they come through with some like machine? Is it an accidental side effect thing, or do they intend to do it whenever they travel?
Well, I was looking through the Gauntlet Comics wiki, and there's back from the Bronze Age of their mass comics, they mentioned there's another dimension where like the American Empire from some like irradiated hellscape world. I think they might have just fled from there. Like they were living there somewhere, and then, well, nukes are going off. We better get out quick. So they, used some kind of machines and mass exodus. So like they can do it, but it's really difficult and costly.
Okay, so you're looking at they fled one world. Now, did they all come here, or did different groups go to different places? Like there might be other groups of your people in like random other locations throughout the multiverse.
I think they scattered.
How big of a population do you think came to Kam-Dir, this weird little science fantasy underworld that we're in? Like maybe a city's worth of people, maybe a small town, like just rough.
Would like 10,000 be too many?
No, that's about that. That seems reasonable.
Okay, let's say roughly 10,000, give or take.
Okay, what kind of settlements do your people usually live in? Like, do they build like big cities? Do they like to like build like lots of low-lying buildings, like a more of a small town or subdivision court sort of thing? Or,
I think we tend to cluster in pretty like high density areas because we're new and we kind of like to stick together. So we're relatively dense cities. Sort of making our own little districts and other settlements when we can.
okay. When they build their own cities, do your people like to like build them like sort of like Pueblo style structures where you're building like into existing geography in order to make them more stable, or do you build like independent, like your own buildings, skyscrapers, whatever?
Independent buildings, I think, but fair number of walls and like defenses. Like we came from, a nuked world. We're a little bit, worried.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
And I think one other fact, if I can introduce one, is that so I took the greed is good move. So I think these particular dwarves have a bit of greed to them, but it's a little bit it's less like ooh, that thing is shiny, I gotta have it. Just regular gold lust. And I think more like, we're brilliant interdimensional travelers. We can understand these things way better than you folks. We should just take this back to our museums and stuff. We
So they've got a little bit of imperialism that they took away from that American Empire universe.
I think so. Maybe a little bit of that rubbed off on them. I mean, they're not perfect. Yeah.
So it's more like they're not necessarily interested in the material wealth aspect of it. They're interested in the like monopolization and discovery of things. Like they don't want to have all the money, they want to know all the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's see, Bethany, do you think you're ready to tell us about the Squire?
Yeah, sure. I also have forgotten the order of things I'm supposed to.
Okay, that's not a problem. The first thing is basically tell us your character's name.
Oh, yeah, I'm playing Odell Underwood, who is the Square, and who, according to these stats, is incredibly clumsy, but also incredibly brave, which is a terrible combination.
Oh, that's an awesome combination for a fellowship story. What led you to being the Squire? The Squire is kind of that special playbook where they're not really a champion, but they've got qualities that lead them into this life of heroism nonetheless. Like what's the story with our Squire?
I think I talked the heroes into hiring me as a guide. I definitely did not do this because I needed a way to get away from where I was really quick before someone noticed I was gone.
So are you native to the Hollow Earth?
Yeah, or at least at least I've been here long enough to know my way around. I think I wasn't lying about that. I really do know my way around. Maybe I may have exaggerated it slightly.
Okay. What purpose did you choose for your squire? They have like a list of 4. Which one of those did you choose?
Yeah, I chose see the world. That seems like the closest. Although, like, my immediate purpose was, like I said, not to get away before someone noticed I was gone.
To see some other part of the world very quickly.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And let's see. The squire has all squires have 3 basic moves that make you a squire. What could you describe those moves for us?
Yes, I have fast friends. When I spend a scene by someone's side or speak softly with them, I can gain a bond with them immediately. I actually have not played this game, so I don't know how that's different from regular ways of gaining bonds, but and I can have an unlimited number of bonds with anybody. But people I have bonds with do not become companions because I do not have enough influence to just make people companions. Also, I can command lore about anyone I have any bonds with, except for players. That's all like one gigantic move. My other moves are please just listen. When I talk sense to someone, I can erase a bond with them instead of owing them a favor. And if I speak softly with someone, I can erase a bond with them to make them answer a question. And it's dangerous to go alone. When you watch someone's back and keep your eyes peeled, you can roll to overcome any harm against them with sense instead of blood. Why is this hard to read? I don't know. There it is.
The fast friends thing, it's a lot harder for most other folks to develop bonds that quickly.
Okay.
So I think that's the advantage there, because literally, like, all you have to do is talk to people and you suddenly have a bond with them. Like, that's,
oh, nice. Okay.
That's the way that move works. You have to be in a situation where you're spending a scene by someone's side, or to roll the speak softly move with them.
That's probably how I convinced these people to take me along.
It seems like it. The squire is a little bit different. I went into the moves with your character just so we could kind of outline what the squire does. They're the easy, friendly type that helps the fellowship get along with people. That's really kind of where they are. I think that the fact that your character also has maybe the shady background, we're not sure.
They definitely did not just escape from a chain gang.
So yeah, see,
totally not.
That's not what happened at all. I mean, why would we even think that?
I don't know. People have asked though, so
now
don't know what would make them ask that.
Now here's a question I have that the Squire playbook itself doesn't necessarily outline. What people do you come from? Like, are you a human that lives in there? Are you some sort of anthropomorphic animal person? Because there are those. Are you a random person who accidentally ended up in the underworld, in this weird underworld place?
I think that might be it, but it was a while ago. Like, I've been here for years. I randomly ended up here and decided to stay.
Okay.
I'm not sure why yet.
Well, the chain gang avoidance. I mean, they don't seem to have chain gangs down here that have decided to. I'm not sure why I keep focusing on that chain gang thing. It's obviously
I don't know.
So basically, you are a person from the surface world who ended up down here, and has decided to make it your home. And then when you saw this group of strange denizens of this world trying to band together to stop this overlord from taking over, you were like, you know what, those people need my help.
Yeah. In fact, actually, maybe I'm wondering if my purpose is keep them safe, because that might fit better, because what you just described is exactly that makes sense.
Feel free to switch those up as needed. I mean, that's
yeah. I think I will actually, because I've already got Adventure Time as my agenda, so that seems like doubling up if I do see the world. So I'm going to keep them safe instead.
Okay. And let's see. Let me make sure. I think that pretty much covers the basics of the squire enough so that we know kind of where our squire is coming from. Okay. Let's see. Pearl, are you ready to tell us a little bit about your halfling?
I think for the most part, although I keep forgetting that I should probably come up with a name. Like I've done a lot of other things now that aren't the name. So I should look at the sheet and see what it tells me. I will be... Do I really want to be named Pounder? I find it amusing that that is a possibility, but I don't think I'm going to go with it. I will be... Hamfast Cobbles, as per the sheet. Hamfast Cobbles, and then I will save my character sheet and hopefully be able to read to you off of it, based on what I've written. If I can figure out how to save. How do you save a sheet?
If you're in the sheet itself, all you have to do is click outside the box you're typing stuff in, and it will be saved.
Oh, good. Okay. Quickly before I do that, bonds are things we haven't gone over yet, right?
Right. Yeah, we'll be doing that a little bit further down the line. Okay. And
clicking outside of the box isn't working. I hate Wolfman. I don't understand it. Go away, Hamfast Cobbles. What?
okay, it looks like I'm just double checking here. It looks like it's saved all the stuff that you entered, including the name. So,
oh, good. Okay.
So looks like we got it.
Okay.
The next question I have for you after the name is tell us why the halflings decided that Hamfast was the one person they needed to send to join this fellowship to stop the Overlord.
I think it is because while all of the halflings are sort of fun time having, you know, sort of partying, prankstery, whatever it is, it has always seemed like Hamfast has had a bit more wanderlust than everyone else and would take less offense at the idea of having to miss a meal now and again for the adventure. Most halflings, you know, every meal, very important. And also Hamfast is the one who volunteered to go. So I think, you know, my particular group of halflings, they're pretty easygoing and lackadaisical about most things. So they were like, Hamfast, do you want to go? And he was like, I think I should go. And that was pretty much how that went. So he's not necessarily the most qualified in any particular way, but he is the one who went, which makes him the most qualified by virtue of being there.
That works. What are 3 things that everybody knows about the halflings, if they've ever encountered your people at all?
Do you want that to? Is that like the what are your people, or is that just like me riffing on it?
It can be both. You can give me the what are your people as the basis of it, and then give me like 3 additional like quick facts, like halflings eat like 12 meals a day. You know, something
yes.
crazy that people have seen and gone, wow, that's different.
So yes, so halflings are mischievous tricksters who love surprises and to play pranks and things. But they are also hedonists. So one thing you also always notice about a halfling is that they always have a pack with them full of things that just are fun and not necessarily useful for anything. This may or may not be something that's allowed in the game, but like as a general rule for my people, maybe I couldn't take one along on this journey. But if you were to encounter one wandering up the street, they would have a pack, and it might have like a harmonica and 2 of their favorite cupcakes and like an assortment of things of that nature, so that wherever they are, they can sit down and have a good time. halflings also like to play pranks on each other, but much more like to play pranks on other species, especially in groups. If you can get a group of halflings together to befuddle someone, that is a great joy, and they will giggle hysterically, and it usually gives away the prank before it can go off completely, because they cannot control the giggling. They're very silly people. And the third thing that people know about halflings is that there is, at this point, long enough ago that nobody is really clear on the details, in the shared cultural knowledge of the land, apparently there was once a halfling who was a great hero, who did, like, much more than anyone would expect a halfling to do in some great important battle or something, but nobody really remembers what it was, or why it was important, or why anyone invited a halfling in the first place, because people usually don't. But that halfling is like the only reason anyone gives current halflings a second glance, is that apparently once in a few generations one comes along that can do something useful.
Okay, so at some point, we don't have to do it right now, but maybe give me a name for that ancient halfling hero. Nobody knows exactly what he did, but like they just remember the name, and it's like
That makes sense.
maybe that's the byword for like halfling hero.
Oh, I like that. That's a good idea. I
Um,
should do that.
so, let me see. All right. So I think we've kind of got the basics of our characters. The one player who is not here with us tonight has indicated that they want to play the orc playbook. So they'll be describing the orc for us when we come back in next time and giving us the facts about the orcs. So we will save that portion of the of the character introduction stuff for next time. Now, let's see. Here are the next group of questions that we all need to go through, and these kind of hit on the Overlord. I've given you kind of the capsule version of what the Overlord is, and the basic explanation of what they're after. The first of these questions regarding the Overlord is, whose people did the Overlord hit first and hardest? And this is just kind of a general discussion. If somebody like has an idea or wants to pipe in, please do so.
In my mind, it would probably not be the halflings, because we are, at least in the playbook, easily overlooked and underestimated, and I think probably we wouldn't have been the ones that he would have wanted to bother with.
I wonder if it was the orcs.
That could very well be something. It would seem like the orcs would be the most overtly dangerous, and this Overlord is focused on power. So we have established that. So maybe we'll leave that portion for Lexi to explain. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. All right. So the next question for us to answer is, whose people has the Overlord mostly ignored? We may already have an answer to that one, I think. It sounds
Yeah, it's
like
probably mine.
So he would be inclined to basically leave the halflings alone because they don't have a whole lot of overt power that he would be focusing on. That we know of.
Nor do they want power, because power would imply responsibility, and responsibility means less pipeweed.
Yeah. The Overlord disagrees on this responsibility nonsense, but he's happy that you don't want power. Okay, now the next one is, what impossible thing has the Overlord already done? What is that thing that made everybody in this, in this entire like magical science fantasy realm that we're in, stand up and go, oh crap, this is serious. This thing is bad news. What do you think that one impossible thing that he's already done was?
Maybe there's like a lake that a lot of people used to draw like water for living and whatever else from, and he didn't freeze it in terms of like it being ice, but he just made it solid so no one could like use it anymore. You could like walk on it. It's almost like it's glass, and it's not a state of Like it's not a gas, a liquid. I guess it's a solid, but it's like not a state that water usually would be able to take. And that is disrupted.
It looks like ice, but you put your hand down and it's warm.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting. Thank you.
Like it's some sort of gelatin?
But more solid than that even. Because you could kind of like really pound it at gelatin enough, you could sort of drink it for hydration or like consume it. You really can't. It's like or like a diamond maybe, but like less glittery. Like it's just very hard. Clearly was once water.
Like,
Looks like it should be cold, but it isn't.
Does stuff still live in it?
Oh, good question.
I think there are probably things in suspended animation, essentially, that they're.
Yeah.
We don't know whether they are alive or not because this is this impossible thing, right? So, and we have no way of getting to them because they're under the surface of this like completely solid lake.
I'm picturing the stuff they use in like museum exhibits. It's a clear resin and it looks like water. They do a pretty
resin.
That's a good imitation of it.
Actually.
But then like you
resin.
touch it and it's like it's plastic.
Yeah. That sounds perfect.
Oh,
and sometimes has bubbles in it.
Resin. Yeah, cool.
I mean.
Oh my God, that's okay. So let's see. I think I have an idea as to like the how of the Overlord doing that based on what I have an idea about the Overlord. But I'll save that for later because that might be the object of the quest later on to figure out how to undo that.
Well, I mean, if anybody, that was just my suggestion I threw out. If anybody else has an impossible thing they would prefer, I'm not like wanting to overrule everybody.
Let's see. How does anybody else want to throw some other ideas out there? We've got the polymer resin lake. Any other ideas as to another impossible thing the Overlord might have done instead? Or may have done an additional to. I mean, he can have done more impossible things to show off.
The suspended animation fish and salamanders and possibly mermaids just sells that idea for me. I don't have anything better.
Were there sentient species in that lake? Like, I didn't think about that. Did we obviously? Can you see?
I didn't either, but now I vote yes.
Yeah, actually, that would make sense. 'Cause like if the Overlord just took out a bunch of like aquatic powers, then he would have disrupted all the power balance. Because now we can just march his armies across the what used to be a buffer.
Ooh, so he's maybe he's done this a couple of times to different bodies of water in order to surprise people with his attacks. That sound reasonable?
Maybe that's like an ominous way you know he's heading towards your people. Is if one of the bodies of water near you starts to solidify, it's just like, oh, expletive here.
Does it start to, might it start with like some, you might notice like this dew is like hard. What's going, uh-oh.
I think the lake was sudden enough though that like you can look down and you can see like, yeah, selkies, mermaids, whatever mythical creature, sentient aquatic people we have like trapped there and you don't know if they're alive or dead. They're in suspended animation, but it's horrifying. Like nobody likes, like you can walk on this thing, but nobody does because when you look down, you see like people down below trapped.
Yeah. Like if he does do other ones, that was the first one. And it's like the central lake that the most people draw from.
Okay.
And then
let's see, we need to come up with a cool name for that lake that it had like that maybe sounded happy and joyful before, but now is a byword for terror. So I'll leave that up to y'all. We don't have to do that tonight. I'm just saying like that would be cool to have that name so that I can throw that into a mention later on in the game. Okay. Now we're getting into kind of the rumor parts about each one of these playbooks. And we're also going to be getting into some of the bonds. So we've established these stakes. This Overlord can do weird, crazy stuff. The most blatant of which has been their ability to basically solidify bodies of water through no physical means, no normal physical or scientific means. And we need to look and choose bonds with the Overlord. So the Overlord has a list of bonds that folks choose from, and Overlord bonds are, well, they're different than your regular bonds. They're not about having a good relationship with the Overlord. They're more like a narrative tie to the Overlord. The Overlord has one with each of the players, and I have a list of possible bonds that I will read out to you. And if anybody likes one of those, feel free to let me know. Okay, we've got the following are possible bonds, and we can also come up with others if folks have other ideas once you kind of hear the nature of these. The Overlord destroyed someone's hometown. The Overlord caused great harm to someone's people. The Overlord killed someone important to you. One of you killed someone important to the Overlord. Someone knows the details of the Overlord's previous defeat. Someone's people serve the Overlord now. Only this one person knows my weakness, the Overlord's weakness. I have fought one of you before and left a wound upon you, which burns in the presence of the Overlord. One of you was once the friend of the Overlord. And one of your numbers secretly admires the Overlord and the things that the Overlord does. Does anybody have an idea as to any of those bonds they might particularly want to jump on?
There were two. Oh, go ahead, Bethany.
Just one of my playbook options that I picked was let me read out exactly what it says. What extra luck did you bring with you? Choose one. And the one I picked is the Overlord's weakness, but you don't know you have it.
That's awesome. Okay, so that's where it gets tricky because you don't know that you have it.
Right. So I don't know if it can be a bond.
That is, I mean, it's really cool.
I guess does the Overlord know I have it?
Well, see, that's where it gets where the Overlord might know you. Maybe he knows you have it, but he does, and he thinks you know it, and that's why he's been reluctant to pursue you directly. Maybe that's why you've been ignored. Like, as you know, you're not quite as ignored as the halflings, but like the Overlord hasn't focused on you because maybe he doesn't want to risk you revealing that weakness, even though you don't know what it is. He doesn't know that you don't know.
Unknowingly blackmailing the Overlord. This is great.
He doesn't know that you don't know that he. Wait.
Are you? You all are enacting an episode of Friends, right? It's not just me.
Oh my God! That's okay. So
he doesn't know. I know he knows. I know he knows.
He gets more complicated. Let's stop that inception before we go too much deeper. We'll never stop. Okay, so it sounds like that will be a good one for you. So only the Squire, Odell, knows the Overlord's weakness, and you can put a note in there. Not really, but I have it somewhere. It's somewhere in this bag or whatever.
I had two that I was interested in, and that was one of them, which means there's one other one that I'm most interested in. And Kyle, if you really wanted this one, I will rethink and find another one because I'm not that particular. But because I try to stay away from grief, all of the ones where like either someone or my people got hurt are like not my favorite to venture with. So I was going to go with I fought the Overlord apparently at some point and have the mark that burns when he's around.
Ooh, that sounds cool. Now, you've heard
surprising for a halfling.
Halflings are ridiculously brave, stupidly brave, some may say.
Yes, many might say.
So you have faced the Overlord before. Perhaps it was since your character does like to travel more so than most of the other halflings. You've established that. Might you have faced the Overlord at some point in your travels, perhaps?
Yeah, I think maybe based on some of the other ones, which were like previously friends with the Overlord, like maybe the Overlord wasn't always like the all-power, like evil Overlord that he is now. So maybe when he was just becoming the evil Overlord, and because we like to taunt people and whatever else, I came across you on my travels and was just like, hey, you're a jerk, because you were like doing something bad. Not realizing that you had, quite as much evil power as you did already.
Did you play a prank on the Overlord?
I mean, I
Yes,
probably
that-
Are
certainly
you like
tried.
the source of the Overlord's angst? This prank
Yeah,
that
it's
you
like-
played on them a long time ago.
Like, hey, jerk, look over there. And then I like pinged him with an acorn. Like, it wasn't even a complicated prank because we were both younger and stupider. But yeah, something like that, where he was maybe making, if you're okay with this, Chris, like making some big, like villain monologue moment where you were feeling really important. And I was like, hey, jerk, and like threw an acorn at your face.
Oh, maybe the Overlord had just like taken over this town. Let's say, let's throw this out there, and you happen to be in that. You happen to be just traveling through that area, and this was one of his early conquests. Like he didn't fight this; he just showed up with his army, and the town just gave up because they were like, "We're just a town; we can't fight an army." Like,
Yeah,
we surrender.
francing it up.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have an army and the other guy has an army, that's not a fight you can win.
Sensible.
So, and maybe the Overlord started doing the Overlord monologue, which every good Overlord has one. And of course, being the visiting halfling, you were like, "Clink." And what kind of wound might he have left? Might he have done something like weirdly physically impossible, like he does to the water?
My thought actually was that he turned like his head to look at where the acorn came from, and like the pure anger of being interrupted in the middle of it, like sort of ended up like manifesting as like eye beams, and he was just and I like managed to like jump behind a tree, so it just grazed like across my shoulder. So he probably doesn't know it was me and doesn't know I'm a halfling or anything. Like he wouldn't have been able to see, but it left like a burning scar across one shoulder. And then I decided to stop throwing acorns at people unless I was like definitely sure that they were not going to throw eye beams at me afterwards. That was like the whole lesson I took from that encounter. There were no other like deeper lessons learned.
Eye beams are for jerks. Yes, I think comic book history and most other history will establish that. Like, it's only jerk Superman that throws eye beams at people. Like, good Superman doesn't try to burn people with eye beams. He like welds things together. That's how you know evil Superman is, if he's shooting people with his heat vision. Okay, so we've established that the Overlord, we know he has a terrifying gaze, and I guess part of that is he occasionally shoots eye beams. So we've got that out there. Okay, so that's got everybody. I think has a. Let's see. You've got Bethany's. Yeah, Bethany's got one. You've got one, and then we've got to get to the dwarves. Kyle, which of that list did you like, or do you want to come up with your own?
I think one of the last ones you said was like I secretly admire him or something.
Oh God, I was thinking you were going to pick that one because you like to blow stuff up. Okay, and the Overlord's all about pursuing power, and I can see like a bunch of scientists going, "Oh my God, how did he do that? We have to find out how he did that." That's sort of morbid scientific curiosity.
Pretty much, yeah.
I can definitely see that, and not something you probably want to mention in mixed company with your fellowship, with everything that's going on. And yes, okay. Pearl posted to the chat that the Overlord might sometimes make a point of burning acorn symbols into things. Okay, that's definitely something he's going to do. Like just do horrible things and symbolize it with acorns.
Sorry.
No, I just got to figure out a way for him to like make that into a speech about terrible power.
That was ham-fast, just apologizing to everyone for having said things on the wrong path.
It's even better. My town, like the big symbol is an oak leaf or an acorn, and they drop a giant acorn on New Year's. So now I'm thinking, oh, okay.
That's awesome. So we've got our real world connection. See, we've got that in there. Okay. Let's see here. Next, we go we've passed our Overlord bonds. We move into each player doing basically what amounts to rumor mongering about the other people's playbooks. So we're going to start this. Kyle, I guess we'll start it with you if you don't mind. And this is basically you choose one of the other two players and you tell us a rumor or superstition that your people hold about their people. And they cannot tell you whether or not it is true. This is going to be just a complete rumor mongering. We will not establish whether anything is true or not at this point. You can rumor monger in any way you want to about the other people, and we will not know if that thing is true or even remotely factual.
So there's a rumor among dwarves that the halflings are secretly sitting on a bunch of like rare artifacts or some impossible technology that they like one of their heroic halflings got generations back, and they've just been sitting on it since then.
Let's see.
I think the halflings do nothing to discourage this rumor. They find it hilarious. Whether or not it's true, I'm not going to reveal since we're not revealing that. But either way, they find it hilarious that all of these people, that's what they think about halflings.
Okay, and what you want to do is these, once you establish a rumor or superstition that your people have, the other party, the person whose people are the subject of the rumor, needs to make a note of that on their playbook. There should be a space on each of the playbooks where you can just make random notes. I believe it's the bottom right, if I remember correctly. Let me check. Let's see. Oh, no, that's the spell space. Okay, just I would add it under bonds and just put rumor or superstition next to it, just in case, just so we'll have a space, because there's a big space we can make for bonds.
I have the gist of it, but just so I make sure I have the specifics, it's that we're sitting on like a trove of rare artifacts.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and I think let's move over to Pearl as the halfling. What rumors do the halflings tell about one of these other bunches of folks?
Sorry, typing. Let me just finish that.
You could always you could always
go ahead.
apply my people as like the people from the surface, since I don't really have a
Yeah, it was
culture.
Oh, you can make it a rumor about the surface world. I mean, God knows there's got to be plenty of them down there. Because people from these weird, crazy superhero types from the surface world bounce down here all the time and cause trouble.
I actually think I want to make a rumor about the dwarves. Which is that the dwarves are known for their like great creations and like all the things they can do and whatnot. But that we among the halflings like to think that the dwarves are actually secretly quite jealous of our hedonistic lifestyle, and that it is only sort of the customs of their people that keep them being so productive and whatnot all the time, and that one day they're just going to come and party with us, and it's going to change like the whole culture. And in the meantime, we kind of are sad for them with all their hard work all the time and no pipe weed at all.
I love this. The halflings are like, they're really just waiting for somebody to unwind them. That's what they're waiting for.
Yeah, like the things they make are great, but like you got to take a break sometimes.
Is there a faction of halflings that like their goal is to teach the dwarves how to relax?
I think it's more like a yearly, the equivalent of like the seniors at a high school going to the rival high school and like doing something ridiculous. Like every year, the young graduating halflings like go and try to see if any of their like in little groups of friends or whatever, see if any of them can get some dwarves to party with them. And no one has ever managed, but it would be considered like the ultimate like win for like senior halflings.
Is this like a pranking thing, or is it actually legitimately like you're trying to get them to party?
Oh no, we're
cover
trying to get them
some
to party. We legitimately feel that they're jealous of our lifestyle, so we're doing them a favor. But because no one's ever managed it, it's become this sort of competitive, like, who can party the most awesomely, because that would obviously get the dwarves to come along. So we throw more and more elaborate parties, like, as close to the dwarves as they will let us get, in hopes of like luring them, and they always just get mad, which we can't understand because we're trying to have an awesome party that they could come to, but they're getting mad. We may not understand it, but it doesn't deter us at all. Like every year this happens. It's been happening for as long as anyone can remember. The halflings are never successful, the dwarves are always irritated, and that is just the way of life at this point, until the one day when it won't be, because the dwarves, we know, secretly want to be like halflings.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. Bethany, would you like to reserve your rumor mongering for the orc? Since we got
yeah, that
rumors
sounds
already
good.
for the other two?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll save that. We'll save your end of the rumor mongering. You'll get a whole night to think up juicy rumors to tell about mushroom orcs. Maybe they're secretly intoxicating. All sorts of weird things. Let's see. So that brings us around. We have finished our rumor mongering. Next, we will go into player bonds, and after we do player bonds, we'll take our first break. Is that let's see? Is that cool with everybody? Okay. All right. So we've got a playbook for each of you that has a list of the possible bonds. Let's see. In order to keep doing things in roughly the same order we've been doing them in, I'll start, Kyle, with our dwarf, and go through the dwarf bonds. They should be on the second or roughly, I guess, third page, effectively, of your playbook. You start with 4 bonds with other members of the fellowship. So we'll reserve one of those for the orc, I guess, and the others we'll kind of see how that goes. We only have 4 players, so you'll be short 1 bond no matter what, unless you want to double up on somebody if it makes sense. I'll certainly allow that you have more than 1 bond with one individual if you'd like to do that.
All right.
So you've got, if you want to go ahead and narrate your bond or anything, however you'd like to do it, and propose to see if anybody's interested in that particular bond or not.
Okay. So let's see. I owe blank a life debt. I kind of like the idea of owing a life debt to the squire, like Odell. Like, you know, you're I mean, I get the impression Odell is just kind of like you're not an epic hero yet. You're just a squire, and yep, you saved my life one time.
Yeah, I can do that. Cool.
Was this a situation where she dragged you out of a burning laboratory, or did she just basically like wake you up in time to make it to some sort of public experiment?
I was probably a little too focused on my work, and Odell did more like dragged me out of the laboratory, or like, hey, we have real problems. There's a fire, or there's a disaster. I work later, live now.
Well, you make things that explode, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I noticed that something like, hey, is that supposed to be smoking? Oh, wait, no, we need to get out of here right now.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, if y'all could just make it, if you could make a note of that, Kyle, on your playbook under your bond section.
Will do. Oh, sorry if I missed it. What are Odell's pronouns?
Oh, good question. I rolled dice for that, didn't I? and then I forgot to look at them.
Oh, I wonder what you were
6,
rolling that dice for.
they, them. Yeah, I have a system because I never decide on pronouns until like the last thing, and then I'm like, I don't know, and so I have, yeah. So I roll for it.
That's cool.
Let's see. So I've got there's blank knows my secret shame. Blank's forefathers and mine knew one another. Blank has been trusted with a great dwarven secret. Blank is a friend to all dwarves. Blank is my rival. Pearl, how would you feel about your halfling being like a friend to all dwarves, or do any of those reach out and grab you?
Yeah, that was actually the one that grabbed me the most. I think Hamfast is fascinated by all of the cool contraptions, including the exploding ones, whether it's purposeful or not. Just thinks it's a blast, and thinks dwarves are super neat. And despite the rumor, is kind of glad that they work all the time because they make such neat things. And it's fun to watch them blow stuff up. So definitely a friend to the dwarves.
Sounds good. I might save my other bombs until the was it Gray gets here, or Alexi?
Yeah, Alexi, he should be in next week, so we can start off next week with going into his version of all of this stuff.
Sounds good.
I hope he has an entrance monologue. Alexi sometimes does. It always amuses me very much. They're very good.
Yeah, I still love that one entrance monologue he did with the ODA oath. That was awesome.
Were you in the episode of that where like I had a vision about him and then had to quote that opening monologue when I came out of the vision?
Oh, I think I missed that one. I think I came in the one like either right before or right after that one because I only got into that. I only got into one session of that particular one. I just heard about it later and was there for the introduction one night, and I was like,
yeah,
that is awesome. I can't believe you.
He was the torch that shined in the darkness. And then I was the torch that shined in the darkness because I took on the characteristics. Well, you were there. But it was an excellent opening monologue.
Okay, so we've got 2 bonds reserved with the dwarf for tomorrow night or for next week. Let's see, Bethany, are you ready to do the bonds for our squire, Odell?
Yeah, let's see. I have blanks back no matter what. All of mine are quite repetitive. It's I have their back. They look out for me. I know I can trust them no matter what. I've never even seen someone like blank before. That's different, at least. Blank is always willing to listen to me, even when no one else has time. I've bailed blank out of trouble more times than I can count. I don't know why, but blank really trusts me. They're all about like who has whose back when. I'd do anything for blank. Somebody and I have shared a moment of peace together. That's a little different. I'm afraid of losing blank. I think blank likes me romantically, but it's hard to believe. And I try hard to live up to blank's expectations. I think I don't think anyone has high expectations of me, so I think I can leave that one out. Unless they have unrealistically high expectations, and I don't know why they would, but that would be hard to live up to. I am afraid of losing someone. Well,
if you make it literal, you could be afraid of losing me because I wander off a lot, probably.
That's also possible. I was thinking like Regina's gonna blow herself up one of these days. And I'm afraid of that. In that case, let's see. Or maybe Hamfast is going to play a prank on the wrong person someday.
I think it's possible that maybe Regina has like too high expectations for you. Like, hey, you saved my life one time. You have the seeds of greatness in you and stuff.
Yeah, and rather than like I've given up trying to convince you otherwise, and like, okay, I guess I gotta go the other direction.
I could
Yeah,
see
I like it.
MFest listening to when you wanted to talk to someone, because part of the halflings thing is that they're storytellers, and
Oh, right.
they are interested in, and especially because Hamfast likes to try, like, is sort of has wanderlust, like he always is interested in hearing stories and learning
Right.
things.
And you've never been to the surface, have you? So that's probably a
No.
place you'd want to hear about.
Yeah, so I think probably,
Okay.
and also just friendly and sort of convivial personality. So I think
Cool. Okay.
Plus, it's really easy for halflings to listen to people because they're always eating, and so they can't talk all the time.
yeah, that's why I've been snacking this whole game, is I'm like doing the method thing, getting into character.
Okay. Let's see. If you'd like, we can reserve your remaining 2 bonds for tomorrow, for next week, and see
Yeah, that sounds good.
if Alexi wants to, has any that meet his approval. Pearl, what bonds will our halfling be having tonight?
So I'll read these out. I maybe have ideas, but I'm like not sold on any of my own ideas, so I'd see if anybody else has like a really strong intuition. So Blank really enjoys the finer things in life. I have mesmerized Blank with my stories. Blank respects me, and I respect them too! Exclamation point. Blank dragged me from my home and on the road to adventure. I don't think that's gonna apply, probably, but still. I once told a lie so good Blank still thinks it's true. One of these days I'll be as good at this adventuring business as Blank is. I don't think Blank has noticed how much I like them. Blank has my back when things get tough out here. I've known Blank for all my life, and I will never lie to Blank. So if anybody like really wants one of them specifically, let me know. Otherwise, I can give you my ideas. Looks like no, probably. So my guess is that it's Regina, right? Regina, I don't think Regina has noticed how much I like them, because my love for all dwarves does in fact extend to Regina, who does make things that blow up, which is very fun and exciting. And so I, would happily tag along behind Regina and her contraptions for as long as she would have me. But I don't think she's noticed because she's too busy building and blowing up said contraptions. So that is my impulse there. Kyle, how do you feel?
Sounds good to me.
Cool. Okay. And then the squire is so interesting to me. Like, because Odell isn't like a species that's really concrete, it's like I'm having a harder time before playing. Like, I'm sure once we play, it will not be a problem. But like conceptualizing what Hamfast would relate. But maybe, I mean, would you have my back when things get tough out here?
Yeah, I mean, I would try. I can certainly see. I can see Hamfast like not. I not just believing that, but like counting on it in a way that that Odell would probably really not like him to do. But
Those raised expectations.
Yeah.
I'm happy to take that. There are also a bunch of others. Like I said, there were a lot, and it was kind of a toss-up for me. But like I think I want to do one of the mesmerized with stories or told a lie so good ones on our orc character, because it amuses me to envision like a big old orc like sitting all like whoa at the halfling telling stories. But there were a number of other ones if that one isn't super agreeable. But I'm also happy for it to be an expectation that you just find to be a burden to some degree.
I think that's it. I think that like no, don't. Yes, I'll try to help you, but don't count on it because I'm not great at this. Yeah.
But that's enough for Hamfast, right? It's not
Right, yeah.
it's like by sort of halfling nature. It's not that you would definitely save me. I just trust you to try to save me because we're all friends and we all would try to save each other. And you're a squire, which is like a very official sounding title. So obviously you would try to save me.
Yeah. Well, you know, I do, my highest score is in courage, so probably would try to save you. But my lowest score is in grace, so I would probably fail.
I just love that the Squire's entire reason for being involved constantly in everybody's business is like everybody is just saying, well, obviously she'll rescue, well, they'll rescue us if things go badly. Like, look at they pulled Regina out of a burning building. Like they got the halfling down out of that really, really high tree after they gotten drunk in the top of it for some reason. I still don't know what happened, but
just the elven wine makes you do weird things.
Oh yeah, those weird plant people make all sorts of weird wines. Like, you don't want
I
to
can't
go.
remember if I actually took elven wine. I think I meant to. I should check and make sure.
You could always get a hold of some.
I probably will then. Thank you for letting me know.
Okay, and let's see. So we'll reserve the other 2 bonds for next week. And the system does allow you to have more than 1 bond with an individual. Like, it encourages you to have at least 1 bond with every player character. But because of the nature of this game, like you're probably going to have at least 1 bond with more than 1 bond with at least 1 other character. Because everybody gets to have 4, and bonds are useful currency in the system. So, and they can be lost if bad things happen. So it's good to have like an extra one, like floating around just in case. And not everybody can be the Squire where they can get bonds in a couple of minutes. Not everybody can do that.
I'd be happy to give all my bonds out. I love bonds.
So, but we'll reserve some of those.
I can have unlimited bonds, so that's
Yeah.
right.
Like I said, it's just 5 minutes and the Squire's got a new bond, like with whoever they just talked to. So, okay. So that puts us at roughly the halfway point, and it also gets us with that. Now, the other thing about bonds, and you can think about this between now and next week, is that you can also have a bond, an extra bond with an NPC of some sort. Like, you can have an extra bond with one of your companions if you want. You can have a bond with the other companions of the other player characters. Like, the dwarf has a couple of retainers, which we'll learn about when we come back from our break, and that can be something you guys can think about for next week as far as what those extra couple of bonds might be.
Yeah, I have a companion, but I don't know if I should have a.
You automatically have at least 1 bond with your companions.
Yeah, it's 2 bonds with mine.
Okay, that's even better.
But I didn't know if they were the same bonds.
It's the same type. It's the same type of currency. The bond basically is their attachment to you, one way or the other. Those can be burned through bad decisions and bad outcomes too, just like with every other player character's bonds. Because one of the things that is my responsibility as the Overlord is to do terrible things and to encourage terrible things to happen unless you stop me.
If you do terrible things to my riding dog, there will be serious hell to pay.
I will hate myself for doing it, but like, as the Overlord, it is my responsibility to threaten to do terrible things. But as a general rule, I will not relish that. So we're about halfway through. We've gotten our basic questions sorted out. So when we come back, I'll ask you to sort of detail your if you have companions. Like, I'll ask you to tell everybody about who your companions are and a little bit about their basic personalities, so folks know how to interact with them. And then we'll get started with a sort of a lead-in scenario to kind of set us up for hopefully doing a deeper dive into story stuff next week, and sort of set things up. I have a kind of an idea as to where things might go, and I'll detail for you guys the big plan that the Overlord has that you already know about. And the Overlord usually has at least one other plan brewing in the background at any given time. So there might be one of those as well. And we'll go into that when we come back for our break. We're going to take a 10-minute break now. It's about 9:30. I'll see you guys back at 9:40. I'm going to pause the recording now. Okay, we're back from our break, and we're going to be going into a more complete character introduction for the individuals that are the members of our fellowship. And they'll be introducing themselves, listing their moves, and giving us a brief synopsis of any companion characters that they've taken as a part of their playbook choices. We'll go with. I'll try to go in the same order we've been going in, just so we keep things kind of in a static order here. Kyle, if you'll start with Regina and who she is, what moves she took, and who her companion characters are.
Yes, I'm playing Regina Firewheel, the dwarf, who's a sort of like an artificer or inventor, an academic among their people. And I've got the moves People of Stone, so I have an iron stat in addition to the normal stats everyone has, which is basically survivability and stubbornness, so I can try to outlast people when we try to finish them. Use that move. And I've got the Clear the Path move. So when I charge through something standing between me and where I'm going, I roll plus iron, and if I do well, I can, make a pass or clear a path that without too many consequences. I can heal my iron stat whenever I fill my belly with the Unbreakable move. And I've got the Let Me See That move. That lets me take a few moments to handle or examine an interesting item, vehicle, or architecture, and I get to ask some questions of the Overlord that must be answered truthfully. And then there's Greed is Good. I can just declare a treasure or valuable item I've heard of to be the focus of my greed, and I get to roll with hope. I'm filled with hope when I'm pursuing it, so I roll with advantage. My companions are Victoria, a defender who is loyal and a shield bearer. I think she was sent along as like my minder, kind of, the person who makes sure I eat and doesn't blow myself up too quickly, and is good-humored, long-suffering, that sort of thing. And I've got Emily as my gunner, who has a powder keg, a literal powder keg, in addition to a rifle. I think Emily is like my intern, I guess. So she's just as excited as me, but new to this and a little bit overworked with having to carry around all the spare gunpowder and stuff.
Like for the powder keg, is that for your narrative purposes, is that like rigged up to be a bomb, or is it like just spare gunpowder?
I think she carries the spare gunpowder, but it's literally a bomb that I can use, like I said, as a trap thing.
Well, really, isn't everything a bomb for you if you have enough time?
Yep, it's awesome.
Okay, I think that's everything for Regina. Let's see, Bethany, can you tell us about Odell, who they are, what moves they have, and any companion characters that they have recruited?
Yeah, so Odell is the squire. They're from the surface. I think accidentally ended up down here and got lost, but decided to stay rather than stopped trying to find a way back and just decided to stay here. And they've been here for a while, and now they're currently acting as a guide for the party. Let's see the moves. I have them all right here in front of me. Oh, they're there. Okay. So my moves mostly the core moves mostly let me talk to people. I have fast friends, which allows me to get an unlimited number of bonds and get bonds very easily, mostly just talk to somebody. When you spend a scene by someone's side, that's pretty simple. And I can command lore about NPCs that I have bonds with. Also, I can talk sense to people and erase bonds instead of owing them favors. And when I speak softly with someone, I can erase a bond to make them answer a question they refuse to answer. Apparently, I'm very good at talking people into things. Also, when I watch someone's back and keep my eyes peeled, I can roll to overcome harm against them with sense instead of blood, which is, that's pretty good, not great. And my custom moves that I took are run for it. When you get away by running right past or right through danger, roll with courage instead of grace, which is very good for me since my grace is negative. And we'll make it. My bonds have a healing tag that I can use by erasing them. So if I have a bond with somebody, I can erase it to heal them.
Okay. Did you have any companion characters that you got to choose?
I do not. I don't get companions.
That's a special feature, not a bug, of the Squire playbook, because you can literally like acquire bonds with almost everybody.
Yeah, I can have tons of bonds, but
trade-off.
no companions. Yep.
All right. Pearl, you ready to tell us about our halfling?
I think so. That was a lot of things, which makes me wonder if I'm missing some things in mine. But Hamfast Cobbles, the halfling, as we know, has a bit of wanderlust. Really looks up the old, the lore of the old halfling heroine Pounder Bracegirdle, who we don't remember much about how she was a hero, but she was. So Pounder Bracegirdle is Hamfast's inspiration in whatever we're doing. And I defined our people as mischievous tricksters. But I think also we're the storytelling kind. I just didn't even though I don't get the move or whatever, I think we like stories a lot. And my extra agenda that I pay after Be Brave, Take Risks, Tell Us of Your People, and Improve the World Around You is have fun. Everyone is so gloomy all the time. So I'm here to make sure they lighten up a bit. My core moves are the little folk. So when I do something clever or sneaky when no one is looking, I can roll plus courage. And if I'm successful, I do it and no one notices right away. And if I'm not successful, everyone knows I did it as soon as they notice what I did. So hopefully they don't notice too quickly. I also have, Sting Like a Bee, which is when I keep them busy by getting in close and get a 7+, I get to choose one of the following. I can get them to chase me around and we both leave the scene. I can steal something small from them and they won't notice until they need it or I taunt them with it, which I regret to say is a possibility. I get them talking and can ask a question from the Speak Softly list, or I think fast and can ask a question from the Look Closely list. I use that move, alas, on people bigger than me. But because we are tricksters, when I do use it, I can choose 2 options instead of 1, which is rad. I have the custom moves, which we define our halflings, of friendly face. So I'm small and trusted, and as long as I show a friendly face, anyone not already actively held towards me will treat me as a friend until proven otherwise. And also lived in a shoe. I can change size at will, shrinking down to the size of an apple or growing as tall as a good chair, but usually being at a happy medium, I am comfortable. My secret wish is for there to be a Muppet movie-like moment in which I ingest something and become gigantic, just one time, but we'll see. I have a companion, my riding dog, Roo 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 Roo. Oh, I missed a Roo in how I wrote that. Mostly I just call him Roo, but basically Roo or Roo 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 Roo, I thought rhymed with the most battle cry like statements that I could use, and that way he could sort of howl out in unison. So if it was like you hello, be like woo woo woo. Or I once in my travels met an interdimensional traveler that sang a very odd song about walruses that involved goo 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 joo. That, so I've adopted that sometimes as a battle cry as well. all rhyme with Rue's name so that we be a team, because that's what a companion is, part of your team. I don't know what the traits loyal friend and good nose are, but he has them. And only halflings can ride dogs. So sorry guys, you can't have a turn on Rue. Otherwise, I have a handheld weapon that is not defined further than that. There's a melee weapon, apparently. And some burglar's gear, which I can use twice for burgling, presumably. I would assume also like just general lock picking. If we want to get it into place, I don't think I have to actually burgle, but Chris, that's up to you, I suppose. I also have a halfling packed lunch, which has 2 uses, and each use feeds 3 people. So if we get hungry, I could probably eat all 3 portions myself. I do like a good meal, but ostensibly I could share, and 3 of us could eat. An address book, which enables me, it's full of family friends, and I can use them to have a bond with someone wherever we go. And halfling pipe leaf, which is a particularly popular kind of tobacco, especially among wizards. When I share my pipe leaf with another, which is 1 use, I have 2, I can speak softly with them as if I rolled a 7 to 9. So mainly I really just like to go around riding my dog, yelling things, and sort of like eating, smoking, taunting, just trying to liven things up around here. Other than the experience from Regina's area, there really is not enough excitement on this quest. I was expecting a little bit more pizzazz,
Well, I think, let's see. On the melee weapon, I think that lets you define the melee weapon however it makes sense for your particular halfling. Like your halfling might just use like a walking stick that's sort of shaped like a cudgel, or they might have like a spear. It might be a pokey stick. Anything that you could basically use to hurt somebody with in like hand-to-hand range. So you can decide whatever that looks like, however you want it to, however you think it would work. It's just basically you swing it at people to hurt them, and other than
Can
that,
it be like a lasso that I once traded a wizard some pipe leaf for to make it all burny?
Sure. If anything that basically does just does some damage. Now, as a magical lasso, you can use it to keep people busy, just like you could with any other thing. To do something extra fancy with it, well, we might have to figure out what move that might be. If you were trying to like tie somebody up, that might be a little more troublesome than a simple melee attack. So we can talk about that. But having a lasso that sometimes catches on fire by itself is
Yeah, it's a little burny, kind of like my scar. You can use it to trip people. You like lasso someone's foot. Ha!
And it can, and of course, for my purposes, it can, accidentally catch fire if you roll badly. So
that is true.
That gives me an opening. I like that. The dog's 2 moves are basically just narrative things. Like you can make use of the dog's tracking ability because they've got a good nose if you need to, and likewise, the dog's a loyal companion, so you could mark off that set to have the dog actually like get in the way of something bad that might happen to you, or like have the dog pull you back from a cliff that you fell off, you stumbled over or something. It's kind of
that second one might happen. The first one, I was like, well, that's a wasted stat. I'm gonna put the dog in danger. What kind of person would do that?
I know. See, that's the tricky part with having an animal companion. Like you really feel bad. Like for the person companion, it's like, well, they're a companion. They knew what they were doing. But the dog, I mean, come on. The one question I have for you is, how big of a dog is this? Because you can shrink. Like, so this could be like a tiny little like toy poodle sized dog, and you could still ride it because you can become the size of an apple.
I mean, it could probably be a pretty small dog, and I could ride it anyway, just because the biggest I get is a chair sized. So I don't think of chairs as being that big. But yeah, I would say, like.
Hold on just a second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, we're back, and I was just asking Pearl exactly how big Hamfast's dog is, since Hamfast, like all halflings, can size shift back and forth between the size of a piece of fruit and the size of a reasonably sized chair. So, how big of a dog does this have to be for them to ride it?
It doesn't have to be this large, but I think we were actually discussing it a bit on the break. And I'm going with Saint Bernard size. And he does carry a thing, like he's gonna rescue people out in the snow. And sometimes that carries some sort of libation, and sometimes it carries a very small me, and sometimes it carries both. Ideally, both.
I love the fact that you ride literally in this little container that is also having liquor. Do you like have a little like luxury float in there that you just sort of float around on while he's running
Yeah,
around?
yeah. It is. It is shaped like a walrus, and so it's kind of like I'm riding a walrus pool floaty, and then I can just dip my cup, have a sip, you know.
I love that image. We're going to have to actually work that in at some point. Okay, so I think that gets us to kind of where everybody knows basically who their companion characters are, so that we can interact them if we need to. And now I think that puts us into a space where we need to hit the ground running with one of the starting adventure scenarios that Fellowship gives us. One of those, the one I've chosen, is called The Chase, also known as We're in Trouble Now, Chewie. Okay, I have a couple of questions to ask you to get our chase started. First, who or what is currently chasing you? Any or all of you may answer.
If it's not too like powerful to start off with, the Overlord has that like mechanized wolf, right?
Yeah, the anthropomorphic, mecha, not really a cyber wolf. I'm not sure how to like. It looks like part robot, part anthropomorphic wolf, and his name is Lord Aquila. So he can definitely be chasing you. He is a threat to the world, so that's definitely a reason to run. And he's also got a pack of similarly cybered up anthropomorphic individuals.
Why would you suggest that to start?
Well, that's why you're running. So this is a chase. This is not a fight. This is you running.
Do we run faster than the Overlord's wolf? I feel like we don't.
Well, no, you
I don't.
might. Well, you might be able to, because this is the tricky part. He's not going to run ahead of his troops because, like, he doesn't do that. And he's part robot, so like he's sure you're going to tire out before he does. So you've got an advantage. Number one, most of the Overlord's troops are a little bit overconfident. The Overlord doesn't really see you guys as a threat. So that's certainly a reason to run. Now, if other folks aren't comfortable with him showing up as the number one threat that you're running from, I understand that. If anybody wants to offer some alternate suggestions, I'll certainly leave that up to y'all as a group to decide. I'm okay either way.
We can go with it. I think it's funny. Sure. Like
definitely run from him. Like he's scared.
Yeah, Hamfast is not at all prepared for this situation, but he's going along for the ride, literally and figuratively, because probably Roo is faster than Hamfast is. So.
I mean, I'm sure he's built to run. He's built to run through like serious terrain. He's not built for sprinting, but he's definitely built for long distances.
Yep.
In harsh weather. Now, I think we've already kind of answered the second question, which I would ask, which is, why is it impossible to fight this threat? And we've established because Pack Lord Aquila is a threat to the world. They are extremely dangerous, and they always have more henchmen with them than you think they do. Yeah. So
how loyal is the rest of the pack?
it's tough to tell. Like, they never disobey him, and most of the time they jump in front of things that might otherwise hurt him. You've certainly heard about that. You may have seen it yourself because you can kind of sneak around and observe things. Maybe they caught you guys sneaking around, and that's why you've had to make this start running.
But like, we couldn't tempt the pack away from their duties, probably, because they will follow him.
There's always a possibility you could. That is a stat that you can damage, but I think you'd have to come up with a narrative way of how you would handle that. That's all, breaking the bad guy's stats is how you win in Fellowship, like figuring out a way to basically undo what their stats are. So like, one of his stats is leader of the pack. And if you are able to dispose of his pack in one way or another, then you would be basically, putting a stop to him. And that stat would be broken, which means he couldn't use it. So his pack would disappear. You might be able to do that by convincing them. It'd be a hard sell because it's always tough to steal a henchman out from under one of the Overlord's operatives, especially a main operative like a general. But it can be done. That's kind of where you get into like using a special playbook move, or doing a really super good, super sneaky roll on one of your other moves. Like, there are all sorts of possibilities that can come in, and it's all about like narratively how it would work. Now, the tricky part right now is they're already chasing you, and you can't fight them because there's too many of them to fight right now. Even with your gunner and everybody with you, like, you don't think that's a fight you can win. So that seems to be a good, reasonable spot to place that thing in.
So I would offer the team that I could try to use Sting Like a Bee, my custom move, which is basically just an expansion on the keeping them busy, like distract them move. It's in the main rule set. By getting them to chase me and we exit the scene, which would get them away from you. And then I could shrink really small and hide, which would be confusing for them.
See, that's where you get into the other tricky move. And this is another move that Pack Lord Aquila has that your character might not know, but you as the players can know this. His other move is always a hunter, meaning that to get away from him, like to directly escape his clutches, with the getaway or otherwise or some move like that, you actually have to pay a price. So that can be the tricky part. So that's it. So we have that possibility that we can use, because that is one of your core moves, and that's a move you can definitely use. We'll talk about that in a second. Here's the other point that we need to kind of iron out. Why exactly is Pack Lord Aquila chasing you now? Normally you would have been, for his purposes at this stage, beneath his notice. Like, your champions of your chosen champions of your people and some random person from the surface world, he normally wouldn't have a reason to chase after you. What has suddenly given him a reason to start running you down? What did you take from him? I think is an easy version of that. Like, you got something he wants. What did you grab?
Maybe Regina had mentioned that she needed something for a contraption, and I saw it, and without thinking just went and took it, so that Regina could make the contraption, because I needed this contraption.
You wanted to see it blow up. Right?
Yeah. I don't know what that thing would be, because I'm trying to imagine what like a wolf general would have.
I mean, he's like a cyber wolf general, so.
Oh yeah, maybe he had like an extra part, or some screws in case.
Oh, spare cybernetic parts, maybe. Remember, this is a crazy science fantasy world, so it could be literally anything. It could be a laser gun. It could be like a lightsaber type thing. Like, It could be, it could be something magical. Like all of that stuff works in this little world. So
Maybe like a transmitter that so you can blow things up from a distance.
ooh, like a radio transmitter that actually works in this weird underworld.
Yeah.
Like Bluetooth, but
That
effective.
sounds fun.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So you managed to steal what I guess maybe it's like a communication device. Maybe that's what it was. Like that's what they're using it for anyway.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Maybe Regina was thinking, I could use that to remotely blow stuff up from far away without having to do a fuse. Okay, so you've stolen one of their communicators. That's awesome. So we may have an idea of this, but which one of you is, or more than one of you, is having trouble keeping up this chase, like staying ahead of the bad guys?
I mean, if I'm on foot, I definitely would be, because I am small.
Oh,
But
your companions
I'm
would be
assuming
with
I'm
you.
riding roo, and maybe even riding, like yelling something ridiculous like goo 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 goo, mother flickers at the like things behind us, because I enjoy yelling things from the safety of my dog capsule. So as long as he's as fast or faster than you all, I am not last. But if he is slower, then I am last.
We'll see. Does anybody else have any sort of method of locomotion that they have purchased as a part of their beginning equipment?
Not me. I think Regina might be like carrying the communicator or something, which could be weighing her down.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Let's say, like, because this is weird science fantasy and we're probably dealing with Jack Kirby design technology, let's say it's the size of a backpack. Like this communicator is something that one of the guys would be a comm rig, basically. Somebody's carrying on their back. So, and they had set it down, maybe to relieve themselves, something like that. And our halfling ran in, grabbed it, and now we're on the run. So, okay. All right. So, so we've got Kyle's probably lagging behind a little bit because he's not used. Or sorry, Regina is lagging it behind a little bit because she's not used to carrying this extra backpack in addition to all her other explosive stuff. And probably her companions are likewise kind of hanging back with her in order to make sure that they keep you safe as best they can. And it's amazing that Victoria can sigh and run full tilt at the same time. It's a talent. I mean, no, very few people can pull that off. But she is sighing resignedly while also running. How do you think Odell is doing, Bethany?
I think Adela's like in the middle as they run away, but is looking for a good place to hide because, I mean, he's completely right. He's robotic. He can like go a lot longer than we can. We're gonna have to hide somewhere or get out, get somewhere that he can't follow us before we get tired, which based on the fact that Regina is carrying that heavy thing is not going to take long.
Okay. All right, so now we start to get into the fun part into the even more fun part of this chase. You turn a corner as you're running, or let's say you come around a bend, like you're running down this this path. You turn around a bend and you encounter some kind of significant obstacle to your passage. What's going on? What's this thing that's in your way? The cliff, a very slow parade of rhinoceroses. Like what the heck is it?
Oh god, yeah. I mean, a stampede of some kind of crazy animal native to this area would be pretty cool.
Okay, since we're in a crazy science fantasy world, it could be literally anything from like a woolly rhinoceros to a horde of like snot dragons. So, like,
It's actually a herd of rainbow capybaras.
okay, yeah, I love that. I feel like I might be stepping on other characters' toes, but you know what? Hey.
I happen to know that character, and I'm sure he would be happy about it.
Okay, so we have large multicolored rodents, and I mean they're not necessarily maybe they're not necessarily stampeding, but there's a lot of them, and you are going to have to either wade through them or find their way around or make some other sort of use of them. So let's see. Pearl came up with the idea, so let me step over to Kyle. What ideas does Regina have to try and get through this surprisingly dense movement of multicolored capybaras?
Called the Rainbow Rampage.
If we can just like redirect a few, we could try to like curve the rampage around us.
Okay. Let's see. Well, we have a few basic moves that could figure in. Does anyone have a custom move for their particular playbook that might give them some assistance here?
This actually might be a good place for me to use that get things to chase you move. Maybe I can distract the Rainbow Rampage and pull them around to cut off.
I think you could easily do that. If there's one thing that I think your halflings, as you described them, would be great at, is getting people to chase you.
Yeah, I think that is a familiar activity in many different circumstances.
Okay, so let's roll your. I think you're rolling the sting like a bee is a better version of keep them busy. So, what does your stat say you need to roll with that?
Courage, I think, and that's a +2. I just have to pull up the right thing and find the regular Roll20 window because I have my thing popped out. Okay, there we go.
There should be a little die next to your stat that you just click that die and it will roll it.
Why don't I see it? A die next to which?
On your, if you look on your character sheet.
Oh, I see. Okay. Wait, but I just opened the wrong character. But okay. Yes. Click the like film looking thing.
Yeah, right. That's supposed to be a die. It's just not a well-designed graphic.
Okay. I have clicked it.
Okay.
Did it do a thing? Oh, am I rolling with hope or despair?
Oh.
How do I know?
You are right now. You are not rolling with hope because nobody else can really help you do this part.
Okay.
Because this is your move, and it's something that they have to do something different. So you click that little film-looking thing next to your courage stat.
Yes, it just gave me that option with the input value. So I put neither.
Yeah, neither.
Submit.
Okay, you roll a 9, which means you get a partial success on that. And the results of that are listed on our Halfling playbook. For Sting Like a Bee, if you are basically getting in close and choosing one of these options, and one of those options is that you get them to chase you around and you both leave the scene. So is that, I'm presuming that since you stated that as being your objective, I'm presuming that's the one you choose?
Well, I get 2 actually because the nature of this particular halfling clan gives me a second one. So I would in fact like to get them to chase me and leave the scene and around behind my other companions and off into the distance. And then I have the rules here, so many tabs, all the tabs. The other option is, I'll go. Oh, bother.
Well, you might be able to, the other option that looks like it might be useful for something is the asking a question from the look closely list.
Right. Yes.
Okay, so
they don't need to steal anything from them or get them talking. So yeah, okay, so from the look closely list. That's a different tab again. Oh, bother.
Yeah, the look closely list is what is going on here? What do my senses tell me? Is there something hidden or out of place? If so, what looks suspicious? Tell me about blank. How could it hurt me? How could it help? Tell me about blank. What are they doing? What will they do next? And what will happen if I blank? So any one of those questions is fair game.
Oh man. I mean, most of those sound like good questions to know in this very dangerous situation. I mean, I think I know how the things could hurt me. That seems pretty obvious.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be about the capybaras themselves. Like it could be anything else about anything around the situation that you want to ask about.
Okay.
It could be about the terrain. It could be about the which things that are pursuing you are closest. Like any of that stuff that you could reasonably observe.
I think I'm actually going to go with tell me about the general wolf thing. What are they doing? What will they do next is sort of the key part, right? Like I'm about to lead the rainbow rampage to cut them off from their intended target at the moment. What will they do next?
Okay. So basically,
we already know they're chasing us, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, so you can. Here's basically what you can observe here, and then I'll kind of give you the direct answers to your questions. The general and his pack, Pack Lord Aquila and his pack of cybernetic pursuers are kind of approaching you, but they're approaching you at that sort of, I guess the best way to describe it is the wolf lope. Like they are not trying to out sprint you. They are on a program to outlast you. From their perspective, they've got time is on their side, and so they don't feel like they have to rush. So that, and they are moving as a group. Like they are particularly trying to stay together so that they don't get separated, and they are making that their main tactic. Let's see. Let me look through that. Let me get to that part again. Okay, when you see them, that's what they are doing. They are giving you that deceptively slow loping pursuit that you can sprint away from, but you don't know if you can actually outrun it unless you take some other sort of measure. And what will they do next? After the capybaras intervene, you get the impression like they are not going to try and go around the capybaras. Like they will go through them in an ugly fashion. Like these are all like large predatory, anthropomorphic forms of large predators. They're just going to basically just maul their way through them.
They're not going to slow down to eat any.
Well, that's, I mean, if somebody wanted to twist this around a little bit, or maybe make some or distract them in some other way, to possibly maybe try to keep them busy thing. But keeping them busy because the general is here will require someone to pay a price. So you definitely, like, it will slow them down like that, but it is not going to it's not going to
gone the way I wanted at all.
They're
someone else should do something because the Rainbow Rampage was not supposed to get massacred. That was not the plan. So somebody
I'm
else.
thinking they might, some of them like try to get some of them to break off and chase them instead. I don't know, maybe I have a move, but I don't see how it would make any sense whatsoever in this situation. Although it may eventually make sense.
Well, let's throw it out there. Let's see what we got.
Oh, when you get away by running right past or through the danger, which, like I said, don't.
Well, I can see how you could possibly try and make that work given the whole situation. But I think Pearl had something she wanted to add as well.
Doesn't one of you have something where you can like state something about like lore or like make a thing true or something as one of your moves?
I have to have bonds to do that. I don't know if anyone else has it.
I thought I remembered there being something that you could like state a
Well,
thing. Maybe
there's a command lore move that everybody has basic access to, but it generally requires it to be something connected to something we've kind of already established about.
Yeah, no, I thought I remembered in the character things that someone had like a special move that allowed them to like have knowledge of something. I must have misheard it slightly, unfortunately. It would have been very handy in this instance had it actually been a thing, though.
I've got some gear, like a family heirloom that lets me ask my ancestors for guidance on a topic, that lets me command lore about that topic for the rest of the scene.
Ooh, that could be
Maybe that's
useful.
what I was thinking. Is like, do you maybe know something about rainbow rampages and or capybaras that would make them resistant to wolf damage or harmful to wolves to minimize the damage that's about to happen?
Or, I mean, and the other question is like, are these just regular plain capybaras with different colored coats? Like, remember, this is like super science fairyland we're dealing with. So, like, those might not be normal capybaras. That might be something you can command lore about. Something else might be involved here. So, I'd say you could certainly use that move. And Bethany, going back to your option about the get away by running right past them, that type of thing, that could certainly work here. Like the capybara's presence does create a viable distraction that can put you in that sort of scenario. But so you would get to roll if you did that. Like you could roll with your courage. The price would still have to be paid to evade the general.
Okay,
But
I can do that.
so that's still possible. So let's, if you don't mind, I'd like to see if Kyle can command lore about to give you some more info. It might give you some more descriptive juice when you do that. So does Regina want to access the memories of her ancestors or the database of her ancestors to see what is known about Pack Lord Aquila?
I think so, yeah. Do I don't roll for this, do I?
I know with command lore, you can just say stuff. I'll give you the basics of Pack Lord Aquila's basic stats and what he is. And then you can like take off from there about some other things that might be wrong with him, some other vulnerability he might have or anything like that. Command lore is super, super useful. The only thing it can't let you automatically do is like break a stat. Like you can't command lore to break one of his stats, but you might get some info on how you might be able to do that with something else. So
Okay.
now here's the here's where we go. Pack Lord Aquila, as I previously described, is an anthropomorphic cybernetic wolf. Some of his he has like humanoid arms, which are cybernetic. His hindquarters are mostly wolfen, but they've been obviously modified with some sort of cybernetic implants that let him stand upright or choose to run on all fours. So he has this sort of creepy, amalgam of wolf and machine that is eerie, especially when he goes down on all fours to run and then stands back up to a fully upright position. He is the size of a large wolf, but not like a scary giant werewolf thing. Like when he stands upright at about the height of a reasonably tall human, like about 6'2" to 6'4". But he's not giant or heavily muscled or anything like that. He's just an anthropomorphic wolf person with cybernetics. His stats are threat to the world, leader of the pack, which basically means that he can make any member of his current crew basically take a hit for him, and he can attack. He can attack as a group or a gang, depending on how many flunkies he has with him. Right now, he has what makes him dangerous is he has the equivalent of a gang with him. So like he can basically act against everybody here, like all three of you at once if he gets a chance to do that. And he has always the hunter, which means that you have to pay a price to get away from him, hide from him, or otherwise escape from him without like supernatural assistance.
Okay.
So you can, and for Command Lord, you can either just make a statement that you want to be true about him or his minions, because his minions are kind of included in this. Or you can ask me a question, and I will give you an honest answer. Depending, it all depends on how you want to go about using your Command Lord.
So I'm thinking maybe the like cybernetic pack. They're something about the way the cybernetics were set up. They're super vulnerable to certain frequencies of sound, like a dog whistle would hurt them and stuff. Like maybe not kill them, but just like be really distracting and painful.
Is it a do you think it's a sonic frequency, or is it like an electromagnetic frequency, a radio frequency? Like
I think a sonic frequency was what I was thinking.
Okay, all right. So so you can relay that to your companions.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, I think I'm gonna consult my heirloom and like get this info. Like, hey, there's a sound. If the right sounds can startle and stun these wolves.
Okay, all right. Regina relays that to you guys as you're preparing. Bethany, you had mentioned before making use of that move. Does that alter your trajectory, or does it alter your choice of move as to where you want to go?
Yeah, maybe. What sounds, I think that's basically what sounds.
And I think, Kyle, you can feel free to answer this question with the type of sound that that your ancestors have reported would set off the auditory cyberware that they're using.
Yeah, I think I give the details over to them, like the whatever the technical specifications are.
Okay. So okay, so he gives you the decibel levels or whatever the equivalent is in dwarf science as to what that would mean. Is that the tricky part? You're from the surface, so you understand like sonic frequencies probably more than the average Kam-Dirian, but like, is that enough information for you to take action on?
I mean, I don't think I can. If I were an opera singer, I might be able to make that sound, but I'm not.
Okay, good. Do you think you have any gear that might allow you to make an equivalent sound? I'm not completely aware of everybody's gear list because there's a lot of it. So that's what I was asking.
No, my gear is very boring. I have a spear and I have some food. And I have some poultices for when we inevitably get injured here. But I don't have any noise making things. But we did steal that transmitter.
Oh.
I was gonna say
feedback makes a really horrific sound.
Oh, that is currently strapped to the back of Regina.
I think I've yelled to Regina as I'm like leading the Rainbow Rampage. Maybe less talking about the sound we're making it. Just to encourage some action.
Okay, so let's go back to Odell. Odell, what action do you decide to take based on the revelations that you've heard about the sound and knowing that there's a transmitter that you probably actually have an idea more of what it does than most of the people here?
Yeah. I don't know anything about like exactly what channel it should be on, what frequency it should be on, but I do know how to make feedback sounds. And I think, like, I don't know if that's exactly the frequency that she mentioned, but like, it's got to do something, right? If they're sensitive to sounds. So I think I like turn that on and fiddle with it, and like this, horrific shrieking sound comes from it.
Okay, so I think this is going to effectively be, I think, a keep them busy role, because you're trying to distract or otherwise preoccupy them. And here's the tricky part. In order to keep a threat to the world busy, you do have to pay a price. Paying a price in this game can take many different forms, both narratively and structurally within the rules themselves, because basically these guys are really dangerous, and it takes a lot to get them to the point where you can deal with them. So there are two ways to pay a price in the most basic sense. The first way is to damage one of your stats, meaning that you check that little box next to your stats on your stat block, and that lets you deal with, that means whenever you have to roll with that stat until it heals, you have to roll with despair, which means you roll 3 dice and take the worst 2.
Okay.
Or you can spend a use of some equipment that makes narrative sense. Say if you have a spear, maybe you use it to do some sort of horrible, makeshift mechanic work on that thing to make it make that horrible noise or something like that. Any of that kind of stuff can help. You have to make some sort of meaningful sacrifice, either personally by your stats or through your gear to deal with it.
I mean, I'm standing between this thing and the wolves chasing us. I'm gonna get blasted with this sound before anyone else. I think I'm deafened, which would definitely that would be a stat hit. Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably that sounds like it would affect your sense stat.
Yeah, observation is in sense, and I'm clearly not hearing anything.
Yeah, so that works out perfectly. So you're a little too close to that thing when it goes off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've paid the price. Now we're going to make our roll, and the keep them busy roll is a courage-based roll, so that's great for you.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And let's see. Here's the weird part with keep them busy. It says here that if you have the clumsy tag, you would take -1 to keep them busy. I don't think you have the clumsy
tag. I don't
tag.
actually have the tag. Okay. No, I just have a -1 grace. Okay, I just am clumsy. It's not a tag.
That's right. You are clumsy in a normal sense, not clumsy in a meta sense.
Yep. So
okay, so you're rolling to keep them busy. You're rolling with plus courage.
Awesome. 8.
All right, 8. Okay, so that puts you squarely in the best zone ever for all Powered by the Apocalypse games, which is a success with a cost. On a 7 or better, and keep them busy, you buy some time, and their attention is all on you for now. So they're all locked onto that ridiculously loud backpack. As a side effect, of course, that means they're also locked on to Regina. Sorry, Regina. Narratively, you're kind of in this mix. On a 9 or less, they will retaliate against you when the time for keeping them busy is up. So basically, they are narratively distracted now. That noise has them all stopping and just cringing. So they're not plowing into the rampaging horde of capybaras. They are not currently continuing the pursuit, but they are coming. They are going to come after that noisemaker immediately, as soon as they are able. So so keep them busy. Keep them busy. Worked. They are certainly distracted and temporarily maybe slowed down or immobilized for a bit. Now let's move to back around to shift our spotlight to our halfling, who is currently being kind of chased by capybaras, but seems more like leading them. I'm not, well, not sure the real posture, but you're running around with Ruru. So
Yeah, I'm in my little neck seat at the moment, and the way it's meant, like I can go inside on my floaty walrus, but there's also like a seat for more serious moments like this. So I'm writing. I'm trying to think of how what I'm doing is interacting with what everyone else is doing.
well, you can certainly see what happened. Like you can definitely see like all of those animals once that shriek went off from that backpack. Like literally all of these cybernetic animals just stopped and like cringed, and like their like little legs buckled so their heads went lower to the ground. Like anything they could do to try and minimize the sonic impact, they did.
Right. I just don't know. Like I can't amplify the sound, and I am sort of being chased by a rainbow rampage at this point. So I feel like I kind of have a different situation now than the rest of the group does, due to my earlier actions. And while yelling "goo goo gajoob" over and over again while my dog goes "roo roo roo roo" is entertaining. Ultimately, I do not want to get trampled. Probably. Nothing has happened to the capybaras now because of the sound, right? They did not get eaten.
Yeah, right.
Good.
But
Okay.
so the bad guys are distracted. The capybaras are on the run. The capybaras are honestly past the bad guys now, because the bad guys are all sort of hunkered down after the noise. So the capybaras are not going to be in the way once they snap out of this. So if you have a follow-up action you would like to take, you can think about it now, or I can shift. I was
going to say, maybe skip me. I'm having a bad role player moment where I'm just honestly trying to figure out what to do and have no idea.
Okay.
So
I'll bounce over to Regina. If you have an idea, we'll go over to you and we'll sort of cycle around. So Regina, what do you think you want to follow up next? Your ears are ringing a little, but your senses are not damaged from this. You're just annoyed.
Well, I've got an explosive trap. Maybe I'd just use the time to, plant a trap.
Hey, everybody loves a good explosion.
me especially.
So I think you've got time to do that. Like Odell's fiddling with that backpack and creating that shrieking feedback is giving you what you need to set up your trap. You could definitely do that. Now on your trap roll, does that require you to actually like make a roll to set it up, or is it just the trap? Does the trap itself mention a roll?
Just as I have gear that is a explosive trap.
Like one use?
Yeah, 2.
Okay, so you got 2 explosive traps. So you can certainly set that up. You've got time to set that up, and the bad guys are obviously distracted and can't observe what you're doing right now because of the Rambo rampage in between you two for the moment, and the fact that they're all sort of head down, like ears folded, like eyes squint shut kind of situation. So describe to us how your trap works. Like what sort of trap is it, and how is it going to activate to blow them up?
I don't think I have a ton of time to be subtle, so I'm just, calling Emily over and, get the bombs off your back, and just planting some powder kegs down, lighting a fuse or something. Yeah, I don't have a remote detonator yet, so I'd just be lighting a fuse or something, and then just like, all right, come on, people, run faster, everyone. We got to run even faster now.
He seems to be about to set something on fire, so maybe you guys should run it. I'm just saying. Okay, so obviously this is going to be a move to get away, because you're trying to get away. And you are paying a price because you're using up your explosive trap to get away. Am I understanding kind of the posture of what you want to get done here?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay. Is the main focus getting away or trying to actually blow up the bad guys?
I mean, yeah, okay, Regina would try to focus on actually taking out some of the pack if possible.
Okay. So that's going to change which move we're going with. Okay. So what we're doing is we would either to go against the pack to basically try and effectively take out the general pack stat. You would be rolling to finish them. And since you're rolling to, I'm thinking this sounds like, because you've got an advantage because you know the bad guys have been kept busy and they're now ears down, eyes squinting shut from the noise. So you have advantage to let you attempt to finish them. Let's see. Are you do you think you'd be rolling to disable them or knock them out? Or were you going to terrifying them or overwhelming them? Or do you think you'd be going with attempting to force them to retreat, like to pull back and give up the chase? Or just kill them? Like, each of these has a different stat you would roll with.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I'd be going. I mean, it's a bomb. I don't think there's any non-lethal way of doing that. So I think I'm going for the kill. So I'd roll blood.
Yeah, it just depends on like I said, this would be kind of a posture of what your character wants to get out of it. Like, do you want to force them to pull back by blowing up a bunch of the pack? Is that what you're going for, or do you want to? Are you trying to just put the fear of bombs in them and make them pull away and leave you alone because of that? Or are you literally trying to blow up every last one of them?
I think I'm trying to blow them up.
All of them? Okay. All right. So to do that, you will roll plus blood.
All right. Got a 10.
Woohoo! All right. So to finish them with blood, they die by your hand. Now here's the tricky part with the boss. He is a threat to the world, and he got stats to burn. And one of his stats lets him just say, whatever would destroy me, destroys my pack. That's one of his abilities. So what you've effectively done is cause him to sacrifice that pack to preserve himself. So that's basically what happens. Narratively, I think your bomb goes off, and he was sort of toward the rear, because none of those guys were able to jump in front of the bomb because they were all hunkered down and trying to cover their ears. But he was toward the rear of the group, and he got the least impact of the bomb. But you have destroyed his pack. So one of his stats is gone. Leader of the pack is gone. So let me mark off that stat. So leader of the pack is damaged. So he no longer has a pack to command. And for his purposes, I think he's going to be reluctant to come after you after that. But because of this situation, I think we're still going to need you guys to basically get away, to basically cut off and run. So I think we'll move over to, I guess, well, we'll bounce back to Pearl and our happy little halfling to kind of give us the getting away roll, I guess. Like, okay. You're basically going to be, you've got the dog. Mostly everybody's following you, I think, because you're the fastest one.
Yeah, I think I'm leading them sort of in circles around the team now that the rest of the pack is down, and I don't really know what to do, and sort of like yelling sentence fragments as I go by, like, "Hey, good job! But maybe if you could help me distract these capybaras," because I don't really know what to do now that I've got them following me. Yeah. And if I roll well, we can come up with something as a team.
Well, I think what the posture we're in now is basically getting the heck out of here roll.
Right.
That may be basically, certainly you need to get away from the capybaras, but one roll will get you away from the capybaras and will help you guys just get the heck out of here.
Okay.
And I think you're in the posture of being able to do that. So you would make the getaway roll.
And that is with?
Whenever you are trying to get away, roll plus grace.
I feel like I probably don't have that much grace, but let's see.
I don't know. The halflings, they're not club-footed or anything.
I have
They're pretty cheap.
0. I mean, I assigned the stats without really knowing what I would use them for.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well, that
like,
might be something you might want to switch around later because it sounds like you'd be describing the character you describe would be someone that would probably be a little more graceful. We can look at that next time.
yeah, I think I meant to put a 2 for grace and a 0 for sense, and then didn't, or something like that, or a 2. No, sorry, I think I meant to put a 2 for wisdom, a 1 for grace, and a 0 for sense, or something like that. And I'm looking at the sheet now, and it's not what I remember putting in. So now I'm just confused because.
Okay, well, go ahead and put if you think you had a 1 in there and that was what you wanted to do, that's fine.
I think that is what I wanted to do. It was like, because each one has 3 traits associated with it, I got a little bit like kerfuffled trying to compare them.
Yeah,
because I was like, oh, I would get like a 2 in that one, but like probably none in the other thing that it lists, and I just couldn't figure it out. And now I can't find the tab. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I meant to put a 2 in sense. I just wanted to be witty. Because wit's the first one, but I don't think I actually wanted the 2 there. So I'm going to go ahead and take that down to a 0. With the table's acquiescence that I just think I just had a moment there, and put the 2 in grace instead. Because that makes no sense for the character at all otherwise. And I'll leave wisdom at 1. I think I'm probably more tricksy than I am wise.
Seems reasonable based on your description.
So now I click the thing by that stat, right?
Right. You'll click the little film canister / dice roll next to grace stat.
Did it do it? Oh, wait. Neither hope nor despair, right?
Neither hope nor despair. You did. Okay, on getaway. Swipe. Tabs are the bane of the computer gaming life. Okay.
I'm bad.
Well, it just took my computer like a minute to try and switch me around between the different tabs of the books and playbooks I'm looking at. Okay, on a 7 to 9, you choose one of the following for getaway. You get there quickly, avoiding any harm. You get there quietly, drawing no attention. You grab someone nearby and bring them with you. So
I was assuming we would all get away if I got away.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the posture we're in. You're having to make. I said it'd probably be best for you to make that roll, I think, because you have to do the most getting away. You have to not only get away from the bad guys, you have to get away from these capybaras that are chasing.
I just mean in terms of like grabbing someone nearby to bring them with me.
Yeah, you don't have to make that a part of your choices here.
Okay. I think we get there. I don't know where we're trying to go, but quickly and avoiding any harm seems like a good idea. Better more than quietly drawing no attention.
That's always. I don't think you're going to get quietly anyway. Narratively, I don't know how you do that.
No, not with the Rainbow Rampage. I mean, like I'm tempted to like grab a rainbow capybara to bring it with us, but I couldn't get us away quickly, avoiding harm. So I'm going to go with the sensible choice for just this time, though.
Well, I think that puts you where you need to be, and you guys managed to escape, and we are miraculously for me. We are actually, like, you guys are narratively at a point where we will be moving into the next phase of a story, and we're at our 3-hour mark, which I've almost never managed to do. So thank you all for that. So we've got we're at our 3-hour mark, and we are at the point where our heroes have just escaped from Pack Lord Aquila, and managed to basically blow up a significant portion, or almost maybe all, of his available gang of operatives in this area. So that's pretty awesome. And you have a communicator, which may or may not be broken after what Odell had to do to it. We'll have to see. And we will pick up there next time. Thank you all for being part of this first session of our fellowship game, and I look forward to our next session, and when we will be bringing in our 4th player to see how that orc playbook is going to come out when you use it and when you create a mushroom person with it. I can't wait to see how that works out. Yes, mushroom orc. Like this
is very exciting.
I don't see how a mushroom orc could not be amazing. Okay.
Especially with Alexi at the helm. This is going to be great.
Yeah. So we've got a explosive loving dwarf. We've got a what I can best describe as maybe some sort of weird con artist from the surface world that escaped into the underworld here, and we've got a trickster size shifting halfling with a Saint Bernard. This can't not go amazingly with a mushroom orc ahead again. It's already going awesomely, and you can't help but make things better by adding mushrooms and orcs. And if you have a mushroom orc, even better. But I'll see everybody next week. I'm going to start the recording now. Good night, everybody. We will see y'all next time.
Ooh,